Mr. Cerrone,
Here.
Ms. Doyle, Mr. Gatewood,
Present.
Ms. Johnson,
Present via phone.
Mr. Ploger,
Present via phone.
Ms. Simulton,
Present.
Ms. Swanson.
Present. Motion passes 6-0. We are now in open session. Oh,
We're gonna get that, it's fine.
Pledge allegiance.
oh, sorry. Everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
To the
States
flag
of
of
America,
the United States of America,
and to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, 4.1, public comment. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to thank the public for attending tonight's meeting. We value the feedback we receive from our residents and encourage everyone to take an active interest in the public school system. Residents interested in speaking to the Board of Education this evening are asked to have completed a comment card and presented it to the secretary to the board. When the secretary calls your name, I ask that you come to the microphone, state your name for the public record, and provide your feedback. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per person, and that no discussion of personnel matters or responses to questions are permitted. The board does not participate in the discussion during public comment. Follow-up to your questions or concerns will be addressed by administration through the contact information provided on the comment card. Thank you.
Shelley Dvorak.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Dvorak. I want to thank you very much for allowing me to have this opportunity to participate in what is extremely important in our community. Dr. Sparlin, thank you. I mean, you've done a great job, and I wish you the best in your retirement. Okay, with that being said and done, I'm going to put the glasses on so I can read. I am here as a taxpayer as well as I work here in OE as a TA. As you know, this has been a concern for ours for months. Last session, I know Mrs. Hartigan made a comment of $4.5 million that's being spent in regards to substitutions and contracts for TAs and teachers. I have to tell you, that was a number that just blew my mind. In a district that is, you know, we're penny pinching, and I have seen it for the last 25 years. It's, you know, it's a number that is just overwhelming, frustrating, not only for myself as a taxpayer, but also myself as an employee of the district. I'm speaking tonight in support of other taxpayers, like Mrs. D'Alessio, who has spoken before, and Mrs. Hartigan, who has also spoken as an OETA. We're compatriots. These ladies have discussed the fact that the members, such as the $4.5 million has been spent for the teachers substituting. They also have discussed the lack of quality of the contracted support staff. As Mrs. Hartigan made a comment at the last one, a contract sub refused to do her duty, and Mrs. Hartigan had to be pulled from her own student to cover this contract sub. The frustration is insurmountable sometimes. Continue. We are doing our very best, and yet we're not the ones who are being part of the discussion. I want to discuss also the exodus of good staff due to lack of financial sustenance, lack of direction from teachers and administration, who are overwhelmed with their own sense of responsibilities, their own mile-high care for their students and their teaching. Please don't get me wrong. These are all many good things about our Oswego, about our school district, about our teachers and our support mean, we've got kids that are just doing amazing things, going to state. Our scholastic bowls are, going into sectionals and going to regionals and such. We have fantastic fine arts students who are getting gold keys at whatever conferences that they're attending. We have students who are doing well emotionally, but sometimes they're not getting the support they need. And then you have, we can't forget our sports teams. I mean, we've got several students that, Noah Schultz. It's amazing to see this young man achieving his dreams. And we have students that are going to state. We have students that are going to sectionals and doing a fantastic job. So obviously, our district is doing something right. However, there are things that we are not doing correctly. And where that is, it has to start coming from the top, in the essence of asking the right questions to the right people. You ask a teacher something that a support staff is doing, can they truly answer everything in an efficiently way? Can I, as a support staff, say, yeah, the teacher is great in this class, or this teacher's not so hot in this class? But who's asking? To continue on, with all this being said, the district really needs to do a self-check. We need to decide what's important, the priorities of that. I was here the night that we were talking about the list of contracts, and we couldn't get a straight answer of how many contractors that we had in that list. And I was just like, whoa, that's financial. Why aren't we having this, check and balance? The frustration is here. We're losing good staff. And the good staff is going on to other districts. So I'm really hoping that as a board, we are doing these self-checks and finding and asking the questions we need to ask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joanne Johnson.
I probably don't need this introduction, but my name is Joanne Johnson. I've been a resident of Oswego for 26 years and have had 5 students go through the Oswego 308 school district. I have one more left who is a sophomore. I will tell you that my experience as a parent and success of my 5 children has been off the charts. And I do attribute that to the school district and to the teachers within the school district. What I will say is that all of my children have gone through the honors programs, and I think that's a big part of their success, as well as us as parents advocating for them to be in those programs when maybe a teacher didn't acknowledge that they were ready for it, but you guys definitely heard us. As far as the gen ed and the special ed kids, those are the ones that I see that are really lagging and falling behind. And, I was very thankful to be included in the session where the 3 superintendent firms came in to present what they had to offer to our district in order to find the right person for the job. I was disheartened that we have issues in the district such as academic proficiency as well as employee satisfaction. And ultimately, without our teachers being happy with what they're doing, they're not going to be as effective in teaching our children. And that is very much at the root of what is going on within our district. But what I heard coming out of the gate with each one of them was talking about diversity and inclusion. And to me, that was disheartening. not because I'm racist, not because of anything other than as a parent, as a taxpayer, I want the very best person in the position that can take on the challenges that our district is facing. I would like to see somebody who can go up to bat and can strike out and say, hey, I missed the ball, let's try something different. The relationship between the superintendent and the school board is so critical to the success of a district. They have to be a team, they have to have respect for each other, and they have to align on the goals. And ultimately, we have a lot of discourse between the administration, the teachers, and the Board of Education. Now, I have to acknowledge the board because I've been fully immersed for a little while now, and you guys do this as a service to the public. You're not getting paid for it, and I know that you have absolutely taken plenty of heat, and some of that heat came from yours truly. Would I back down on anything that I fought for? No, because ultimately it was for the kids. But I would like to stress that I hope and pray that when the next superintendent, or even the company that's going to be helping choose the next superintendent, that we aren't picking them for anything other than their capabilities. And I would absolutely like to thank Ms. Johnson, Ms. Doyle, Ms. Swanson, and Mr. Ploger for supporting the school board candidates being involved in the selection process, because we don't know which four of us are going to be honored to sit up there to help turn things around, because we would be willfully blind if we thought that there were no issues here. So I want to thank you for that, because again, as I said before, that relationship between superintendent and board is absolutely critical to the success of our school district and our children.
All right, item 5.1 is our annual presentation on community relationships and partnerships report. Mrs. Dahlquist and Mrs. Komitas will be presenting this evening.
All right, I believe that they're going to pull up the one-page summary so you can see what we are talking about. And while they are doing that, I wanted to highlight that usually we have a large team here. Oh, it's over there. Okay. I'm waiting for it to be there. All right, we have a whole team of people that work on this. Michelle Early, Jadon Waller, Renee Sartor, Denise Hildebrand, and Kristen Paul do a lot of the work around this as well. So I definitely wanted to give a shout out to them. What you see there at the beginning is just the goals that are listed in Envision 308 in 2026. But if you scroll down, then you get to, on the left-hand side, are the indicators of success from last year's presentation that are still listed in Vision 308, and then the column to the right is the progress that's been made so far. So one of the things that we're really working on is gathering and feedback through student ambassadors and having that group expand. They've recently developed a mission statement that'll be later on in the agenda today, and then have done some work with mental health and a student survey. And then on our website page, one of the goals was to have a list of current partners and then have a draft of a pamphlet and a push. And they have really worked together to get a list of partners and put that on so that future business partners would be recognized there. And then this group of people that I talked about so far really worked hard to put together a list that was from all of the different departments, so that it is on our website with all of the pieces around special ed, around English learner, around diversity, equity, inclusion, around SEL. So it was one-stop shopping for our parents, and that has been successful, and they've been pulling together to do all of that. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Teresa.
Sure. So the next one that's up there is the draft plan for the Parent Education Summit and the community chats, and that was just the end of what Faith just covered, so that's kind of a continuation of everything that we've done there. The next one is the alumni. We are currently working on building a database on our website. We have an opportunity for people to sign up. We include that in newsletters every now and then. We are building that core up. We want to have that single spot for people to be able to come register with the district and for us to communicate. So that first newsletter was an accomplishment. And then we presented to the CAC communities. So the community advisory committee that met here on our different opportunities for communications and some of the community partnerships that we have across the district. And then the dashboard, and that's an ongoing one, but that is updated after each one of these meetings on the district. We did include a link to that in the last newsletter as well, so people can kind of follow along. But we do update those in all the presentations that are shared here, as well as the presentations that are included, and board docs can be found on our website following each meeting.
And the next piece is just the indicators of success that we'd like to bring back at next year at this time when we do this same annual report. And by then, we want to have a standardized feedback form that we use for all of our parent engagement opportunities and make sure it's tied to Envision 308, and then get our feedback on how they found it to be successful or not. And then the next piece there is continue the website listing of partners and create a form for future partners to complete if interested. So if they're looking at the website, they have a way to contact us right away. We're going to continue that whole group working together for a parent page and work on a parent survey to know what they might be interested in coming in and what forum that would be, whether online or in person. And back to Teresa.
And then we're going to continue to grow that alumni network and begin some quarterly newsletters. Within those, there will be opportunities and ways for people to come back and be part of things at the district, announcements on public events and those sort of things, and continuing to update that dashboard on a regular basis.
And then the bottom is just how all that ties into finance, student learning, support for student learning, and of course, community partnerships. Just remember that the whole slide deck with all of the details, it will be posted on the website tomorrow. It is also in board docs this evening.
Does the board have any questions in regards to the presentation this evening?
Questions, no, but I have one maybe small suggestion. Can we, clearly I won't be here, so tell me if this is out of the realm of possibility, but if you slide up, just adding, and I don't know how it would be done, but adding a student voice piece would be nice. Like, even if it's like, you know, some kind of here's our clubs or here's our sports teams or here's our just some sort of students giving feedback on.
Oh, a feedback. Are you talking about the survey?
Well, or even just little, you know, little videos that kids make that, you know, even if it's just on Canva or whatever, just something like, you know, here's our club, here's what we do, or here's just some, you know, the talk program or. Right. Well, I just like the only thing that's missing from here for me is just a student led. And I know that we're just kind of getting started on this whole. So again, clearly, I will not be here for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll be here in the district, but I won't be here. Right. I just mean some sort of, you know, like a student ambassador report or I mean, there's so many things that happen in all of our buildings all the time.
We do try to use social media platforms to capture a lot of those stories on a daily basis and use that as kind of a platform so it's not so many stories because they are literally multiple every day.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can certainly look at trying to weave some of that back in. Most of the goals around this quadrant of Envision 308 plan are really focused on connecting at that higher level, the district with the partner organizations, and bringing some of those opportunities, like the parents to have educational things and sponsorships and some of that that we have that really comes into the district level. A lot of it doesn't seep down to the student level, but we certainly can look at it through that lens. I think the student advisory committee piece is probably the only place up there, Faith. I don't know if you want to jump in. That's probably the only place where we have specifically called out students, and that really is student-led and involving students at every aspect of that portion of it. But beyond that, a lot of it is really that 2,000-foot district.
I think to Allie's point, though, if we did have a way to report out what students were doing, just so that the community could appreciate all of the great things that our students are doing, it may spark the idea of a community partnership with someone. They say, "Oh, I can help them to do that better by whatever it is." Yeah. But I think it'll be great PR for the community to see all the great things that the students are doing.
So we do, yeah. And if you don't, shout out here, if you don't follow us on social media, please do. But yeah, we do try to put those stories together. So anyone across the district can always email stories@sd308.org. That's just a little, if you see something, you hear something neat, if your students come home with some neat idea, like that's what we try to do, is use that as a vehicle to get that information back to the district office, because you're right, there's so many cool things every day, but we're not in all of the buildings to capture all that. So we rely on everybody to help us be our eyes and ears. So please share the stories, and we absolutely love to feature those. Those are certainly more fun than the business stuff.
Thank you.
I just have a comment and then two follow-ups. First and foremost, just in a huge amount of gratitude to Mrs. Early and Dr. Waller. Some of the programs that I've participated in this semester have come from these two educators, and they have been very powerful. So thank you for the work that you do. I think sometimes it's sight unseen, but it's really powerful. I had a parent reach out to me that said that they were looking for a specific subject matter, and I said, well, this is very interesting. We have a community chat, and I think you'd be very interested in it, and got a sort of a weeping phone call back saying thank you. It was really something that she needed, and I don't want to really share with what it was, but it was something incredibly important and powerful. So the work that you're doing is really hitting home in this district. To that, though, I would like to say, can we have a little bit more communication and maybe even some out-of-the-box thinking when it comes to communication, because so many people that I share these with don't realize that they're happening. And again, I'm not saying you guys aren't communicating. I know for a fact you are. But I sometimes think in this world of information overload, some of these really important community outreaches get lost. So maybe we could consider just something a little bit more proactive and getting the word out there. I think that's incredibly important. And then the other feedback that I got was something around having to sign up through Sign Up Genius. Can there be an easier way? So I just wanted to pass those pieces of information along. But again, some really, really important work being done here, and I'm incredibly grateful that it's getting the eyes on it this evening. So keep it up.
6.1, Superintendent Report.
Well, good evening, Board. February is Black History Month. It's important that we remember that Black history is American history, and we all should set a time aside during the month to acknowledge the struggles, resiliency, and inspiration of Black Americans throughout history and today. I ask that you please keep an eye on our weekly newsletters as we share these stories about different people, some of whom you know and some of whom you may not know. But they all inspire us all. There's also a special webpage on the website with links to local events and other ways we can celebrate this important month. Tonight, I am going to share a number of celebrations because there are many. This year, we had a number of staff members who are recipients of the Those Who Excel Award that are given by the Illinois State Board of Education. So congratulations to Southbury Principal Samantha Sinovich, who received the award of Meritorious Service in the administrative category. Dual language instructor at Hunt Club, Diana Calvillo, who received the award of Meritorious Service in the early career educator category. First grade teacher at the Wheatlands, Barbara Richmond, who received the award of Meritorious Service in the teacher category. And the members of the Bionic program, Believe It or Not, I Care, Wendy Mann, Colleen Preto, and Rachel Zeifert, receiving the award of special recognition in the team category. These honorees will be invited to the 49th annual Those Who Excel and Teacher of the Year banquet on April 29th. So congratulations to all of our district recipients, and I think that deserves a round of applause. That's quite a great thing. All right, as I said, there's a lot of good stuff happening here. So I'd also like to congratulate our Oswego Co-op Gymnastics team on winning the 2023 IHSA Regional Championship. This is their 5th consecutive title. They will compete at sectionals tomorrow night. Congratulations to the OHS Panther co-ed cheer team on placing 6th at the state finals this past weekend. Congratulations to OHS girls bowling team, as they are the regional champs, and both OH and OE girls bowling will move on to the sectionals this coming weekend as well. Also, a number of our students from both Oswego and Oswego East High Schools recently earned multiple awards in the National Scholastic Arts and Writing Competition in the Midwest region. 8 students who won the Gold Key will have their work advanced to the national competition, which takes place in March. The Scholastic Art and Writing Awards give students the opportunity for recognition, exhibition, publication, and scholarships. Also last week, over 30 student athletes joined in National Signing Day on February 1st as they committed to their verbal scholarships, offers that they've received from their colleges for the next academic school year. Congratulations to those students, and we look forward to seeing them continuing their athletic success at colleges and universities across the country. And in closing, I'd like to reminder that the 5 Essential Survey is underway and open to all parents through March 31st. If you haven't already, please take the time to complete the survey. This feedback is important to the schools. A 20% parent participation rate needs to be reached in order for those results to be provided to the schools. So more information is available on the homepage on our website. And that is my report for this evening, Mrs. Hamilton.
Very much, Mrs. Brown. 6.2 Student Ambassador Report.
Hi everyone. So the SSAC is planning to meet again on February 9th, this Thursday, and we hope to narrow and continue working through the many facets of mental health, which is one of our goals for this semester. We also hope to introduce the YPAR process, which is the Youth-Led Participatory Action Research, which was used last year when making research questions, gathering results through the survey that was sent out to students, and developing solutions to what we focused on, which was sexual harassment. As we transition into this analysis of mental health, of the mental health responses within the school, we want to look at the schools and the student population, and we want to create an environment in which students can amplify their voices. And with the added perspectives of the new members, we will be able to see how mental health is treated in the district.
6.3 Board Committee Reports. So
We're doing, all right. I thought we were doing board member. I'm good.
Board Committee Reports.
I got that too.
Okay. So in your, for the public, you can see the documented reports of the Equity, Finance, and Policy Committee. If you'd like to take a look at those, they are online. And so now I would just ask, are there any additional questions that anyone might have of those reports? Okay. If no questions, we will move on to 6.4.
We had another committee. Yeah. Policy and legislative, our like 100th meeting. Feels
I
sorry.
said equity, finance, and policy.
Yeah, well, yeah. All right.
Do you want to?
No, I want a board member because I wouldn't let John talk about wrestling.
6.4, board member comments.
There you go. See? So there's there's
Mrs.
also,
Mrs. Simulton, really quickly before we get started, I just wanted to make, and I'm sorry if I couldn't hear Mrs. Fawcett very well, due to the truly heavy workload this is to create a new manual, and we are going through it literally line by line, we have added extra policy committee meetings, so I just wanted to make that transparent with the community that there is another one coming up this Monday, and it has been added to our schedule just because of the sheer amount of work that we have that we're doing. So I just want to make that clear to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
tons of meetings, tons. So on top of that, Oswego East had 4 kids qualify for sectionals, wrestling, sorry, and an alternate. And Oswego High School took 4th as a team. We have 5 qualifiers, 5 alternates, and Cruz Ibarra got his 100th win as the first place match. So our champion hit his 100th win as a senior as the champ at regionals, which was pretty cool to see.
It's awesome.
Anyone else have any comments? I would like to shout out Amy Overstreet. She is the Family and Consumer Sciences teacher at Bednarsik Junior High. Last week, she put on a leadership panel for the students of that class, and it's about 80 of them. And it was a forum by which she invited leaders from all over the community to come in and speak to her class, and it was a kind of like a round table. And the question that I got most was, what is happening with transportation? And at Bednarsik, one of their routes, there was a person who called off sick, and so therefore someone else had to take a double route, and it left them at school for like 25 minutes to 30 minutes more, and obviously it impacted them greatly because they asked me about it a lot. And it was like 80 students, and they did a round table, so it was like 8 at each table, and then they would rotate, and every rotation, that question was a question. And so we're just, wanting to do better for our students, and I tried to articulate it to them in the 8th grade way that I could, so that they understood, but we have, work to do. Anything else?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, were you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't know
no.
if you were done.
Go ahead.
I had the opportunity to do a site visit over at Trauber. If you've never had the chance to go see their library, first of all, definitely go there. There's so much to do there. I want to spend the day there. Lots of students going in. It is more than just showing up and getting a book, to say the least. It is quite something, to say the least. I was able to tour the building during school hours. I have to publicly apologize to Mrs. Kellogg for interrupting her class, but the good news, as a fellow social studies teacher, it was a lot of fun getting grilled by students. So I'm always up for that. It was a nice local civics lesson, which I'm always up for that as well. Any chance we can get to bring local civics to classrooms, I'm game. But I will echo what you said. They were definitely what they wanted to talk about was transportation. Well, actually, after they wanted to know my favorite school, which I told them I do not have a favorite school. I do have a favorite mascot, but that's a secret we will keep. Yeah, transportation was definitely what they wanted to talk about, and it was interesting what it affected. And so I have said this before, and I will continue to say that the bulk of what I'm getting is at the junior high level. I did have some parents that I have been talking to
do want to just say, as the board president, I speak for the entire board, and I don't take that very lightly. And so when it comes to our board, we understand that we sit in trust for our entire community. And so we do understand the importance of the board's relationship with the superintendent, and that we want to set up our next superintendent for success. And so that does mean that the new board should, and for our entire board, understand that access and voice is really important in terms of our next school board makeup. And so we are very clear about that understanding and what that means in terms of the success of our next superintendent. So, thank you.
I appreciate that, and I could not agree more. I will also share, I happened to be at Height last Friday, I think it was Friday, sometime last week at Hunt Club, and it was just, once again, beautiful to see. I hid in the background to see the reactions from the students, and while there is a lot of very serious stuff, there's a lot of funny stuff too, and just see the light bulbs go off is something that I will always be grateful for as a board member, that I get to be in those intimate learning environments and moments where kids get it and they understand. And one of the activities they do is they take and they make a picture of themselves on paper and they pass it around their small circle, and each person crumbles it up and it gets back to them. I'm going to get emotional. And then they talk about what it means, and when we're unkind, and when we hurt each other, and the things that we say, and that it is really hard to take those things back once we've said them, because the wrinkles are still there. And I think we have to continue to get that message out in any way we can. And with that being said, I also had the opportunity to meet some of the candidates that I haven't met that are out there. And while we cannot involve ourselves in any of those things as sitting board members, a lot of times social media has a life of its own. And once you sit down one-on-one with someone and you start to talk to them, you realize that we have a lot more in common than we have or that we disagree on. And so that has really been the message that I have felt, and has really been a string and a thread that has gone through a lot of discussions that I've had, both with students, teachers, and community members. And again, I will also reiterate that the top question that is on the top of parents' mind right now is transportation, and seeing what changes we're making. So maybe at a future board meeting, we can talk about what that looks like, what we are doing, and how we can bolster the effort and whatever the board might need to do to support the transportation department in getting to the next best steps that we're at, that we need to get to make sure that our students are safe, transported on time, and are not missing out on instructional minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on. 7.1, consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
Make a motion to approve all items under consent, including 7.1 minutes for the Board of Education meeting on January 23rd, 2022, open and closed session, and 7.2 to acknowledge the FOIA request received by the district.
Second.
Ms. Swanson?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Ploger?
Bless you.
Goodness.
Mr. Ploger?
Sorry.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye. Aye.
We got you now. Yep.
The only counts one time.
Motion passes 6-0.
President Simulton, we're getting some feedback that it's hard to hear in the microphones on the recording, so if everyone could just speak up a little bit. Thank you.
Item 8.1 is an informational item on financial statements. Does the board have any questions on what's been presented this evening?
Well, I'll go first. I am the broken record. We really need to provide some more transparency when it comes to our spend and variance. So I'm going to request that by our next board meeting, we can please have a month-to-month variance report that explains the difference year over year so that the board members can understand a lot of school board spending is very cyclical. And so it's very important for us to see spend last year versus this year on a month-to-month basis. Typically, it is a report that we should be able to get from our financial software. But nonetheless, I really hope that we can add that. I know I sound like a broken record, but I'd really like to see that. And I would also really like to see where we are with regards to ESSER funds, sort of a what we've spent, what we haven't spent, and talk about that in public. Thank you.
Item 8.2 is information on roof bids for Oswego High School and Homestead work to be done this summer. Dr. Pesky?
All right, and I'd like to introduce both Bill Queen, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, along with Charlie Johnsos, our representative from Kluber Architects, so that they can share with you the most recent bids that have gone out and the information about those.
Good evening, President Simulton, Dr. Sparlin. You guys got me? And the Board of Education.
Just go close. I think, yeah. Go close.
How's this?
Very
Right on. On January 26, 2023, bids were publicly opened and read aloud for the above referenced projects, OHS and Homestead Elementary. We're going to start with OHS. 3 contractors chose to submit bids for the project. Low base bid was submitted by J.L. Adler Roofing and Sheet Metal Incorporated from Joliet, Illinois, in the amount of $531,470. Second lowest base bid was submitted by Metal Masters Roof, Inc. from McHenry, Illinois, in the amount of $623,723. We only received 3 bids from them, so that's where we were at. Homestead Roof Replacement, 5 contractors chose to submit bids for the project. The low base bid was submitted by Metal Masters Roof, Incorporated from McHenry, Illinois, in the amount of $769,423. The second lowest bid was submitted by J.L. Adler Roofing Sheet Metal, excuse me, Inc. from Joliet in the amount of $799,400. Those were all the bids that we had received, with the 2 lowest for each. Any questions?
Mr. Queen, did the bids come in at budget, under budget, over budget?
So OH was under. Homestead was over, but you need to remember we submitted those drawings 3 years ago, so there was a little inflation there.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Board, does any questions regarding this informational item for this evening?
Just one other question in regards to the OH roof bid. I know we've repaired or replaced or fixed sections of that roof before. Will this be 100% completion of that roof, or what percentage of completion would it be if not 100?
That would not be 100% completion. The percentages, it is a little hard to say. That it's a mixed up system, right? We have a bunch of different roofs going on in there. It is in scheduling, it is in the plan. So at those dates, we will reevaluate those.
Mr. Gatewood, OHS is a school that's been added onto a number of times, so there's many different sections of the roof that would be done at, that would come up, their end of life would come up at different times, but I'm sure that we could provide that information if needed.
Absolutely.
Does that fix the leaks in the locker room and in the athletic entrance?
No.
I have one question. Is this, as far as the bids, did they come in about where we expected them to, or is it a little bit higher than we thought?
Homestead, we were a little higher. OHS, we were under what we expected. So they were both really close to what our figures were at.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for item 8.2? Item 8.3 is a update on the work that's been done regarding our district mission statement. Mrs. Dahlquist.
Thank you. Well, as you know, we've been working on a district mission statement for many months. We've had groups such as the board themselves, executive leadership team, student ambassadors, our community advisory group, and most recently, we took the final copy. We saw it fitting to take it to the Superintendent Student Advisory Council so that student voice would have the final touch on the mission statement that we bring to you tonight. The current statement that we are seeking for approval at the next board meeting at February 27th is, together, we empower, support, and motivate all students to thrive along their unique educational journey. Then we will be coming back at the next board meeting seeking approval.
I've had the opportunity to sit in on 3 of the discussions, and it's been incredible to watch the dynamic of the conversation was different in all 3 settings. And it was the pros and cons for all of the descriptive words, and then now to even be a part of the last one with the students where they landed at motivate being the word. But I think it encapsulates, even a part of the community advisory committee during that, I think this encapsulates quite well who we are, who we strive to be in the future for our students. So I just really appreciate the effort that went into it to make sure that all stakeholders had a voice in creating it.
Very good. Any other questions?
I just want to share that I just feel as though voting on this in February is not in our best interest. We have the opportunity with the whatever superintendent search firm we go with to get a lot of good feedback from the community about what they want, not just in a superintendent, but what they want. You can ascertain from feedback certain information, and I don't think we've waited this long, and I don't see the harm in waiting till the new board is seated and feedback from any superintendent search information that we might get that could be appropriate for this. And I would like to see this be an action item down the road.
Say it again. Yeah.
We can always change it when a new board is seated, right? When a new superintendent comes in. We're not spending millions of dollars printing.
Correct. We're not spending millions of dollars printing, and a mission statement can be changed at any time, but it's also something that I wouldn't think would be, the last mission statement, this was done in 2015, so it's been some time. When we talked about it in June, the ideas of does it currently match the work that we're doing right now in SD308, and the answer was no. So we've gone through quite a process to get to the point we're in. But this is a discussion that the board needs to have if you want us to bring it back to the board for approval on February 27th, or if you'd like us to hold on that.
When I think about this, I'm not sure if the format of the search firm and what they're actually looking to elicit from our community, I don't know if it's something that they have to specifically add, request, or, what would that look like in order to speak to this specific?
And I'm not suggesting that whatsoever. What I am suggesting is, as we're looking for a new superintendent who is obviously the leader of the district, it just makes sense that why are we sliding this in before that person gets appointed or hired. And I also think that the feedback we get from the community about the new superintendent could be helpful to the board, just as feedback, but I'm not suggesting we change or add. It would just be interesting to hear from the community. That's all I was suggesting. And would like to see the new superintendent as a part of this. Like we said, this has been sitting around since 2014, 2015, so I don't see the harm in waiting a couple more months.
Yeah, just a point of clarification.
One point of
Sorry.
view.
Yeah, I just want to make just one point of clarification because I don't think it's something that's being slid in. I think we've been going through this process for some months with intentionality of getting it completed, and then new information came to light while we were going through the process. So I don't want it to appear as though we're putting it on the agenda just to get it approved now. I do agree that I do understand, I should say, how getting the input of the current or the next superintendent could be beneficial, but I think that if we believe that this mission statement is representative of who we are, then I think that it really just informs the next superintendent in regards to our mission, and then they can decide if who they are aligns with who we are. Because I believe we did get our community's feedback. We did go through the process. This is not something that was created in a vacuum by the board. We did circulate this throughout the community to all stakeholders. So I just wanted to make sure that I don't know if I understand completely what you're saying or about sliding it in to get it approved now.
Well, how, besides the Community Advisory Council, what specifically do you mean that we have circulated it throughout the community?
So part of the things that we went through my very first year here when we did listening sessions for Envision 308, and we listened to, the number was over 3,000 people, as we had some things with community groups as well as staff and students to come up with the statements that were in Vision 308. And we did go through with different committees, through board committees, of what the priorities were there. And then we looked at Envision 308 and through the notes of those conversations to begin to draft phrases and statements. And then we came to the board and to the groups that are mentioned there in the memo. I think that it's very fitting that we ended with students and amplifying their student voice. That is something that is really unique to our district, that we believe in that, and I think that that group, as part of their first meeting, went through and made this important decision, would be an important consideration for whether we would approve it at this time.
And again, I appreciate everybody's feedback. We can agree to disagree. I just don't feel that this is the time to act upon this, and please, this has nothing to do with student voice. It's amazing that student voice is a part of this. But as someone who has a long history in doing workshops, vision mission workshops, I just feel that it's been very somewhat disconnected. And also, Envision 308 was something that was started prior to the pandemic and worked on through the pandemic. And I just think, again, we're continuing down a road that doesn't address a lot of the current realities of where we are. And so I strongly urge the board to reconsider and put this on hold and have a heartier conversation around not only our vision and mission, but also around the fact that we do not have the student outcomes that we desire, and we need a better look at it, whether it's through Envision 308 or something else. I agree with the intentionality, but I don't feel that we are where we need to be and are addressing the things we need to address. And that is what I have heard from many constituents, and I feel strongly that I need to represent their voice at this time.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. So, is there anyone else who feels as Mrs. Johnson does?
I make a motion to authorize the bills of payment in the amount of $3,169,320.25 as presented.
Oh, second.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Ploger,
Aye.
Ms. Swanson,
Aye.
Ms. Simulton.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Action item 9.2, approval of superintendent search firm. So here we're going to pause and have any comments from any of our board members regarding the 3 search firms that we heard from last week.
I don't have a comment.
I have a comment, but I'll wait till after the motion's made.
Yeah, I don't have a comment on the search firms. But I heard concerns about the quality of candidates that we might get if we were to try to move forward and have a superintendent seated, by July. So do we want to consider engaging with the search firm, but other alternatives?
I have a comment on that, but I don't know if somebody else wants to talk about that first.
No, go ahead.
Well, as a social scientist, right, many of us will say that it's not that history repeats, but it sure does rhyme. And for many of us who have been engaged, voting, I would say actively engaged in voting and definitely paying attention for quite some time in this district, those of us, we really remember back to, I believe it was 2013, right, when we had a superintendent who, that superintendent resigned in February, and we had a search firm. One of the search firms that came into our boardroom the other day, and they presented a candidate to a board during an election year, and we came up with Dr. Wentz at that time, and I think that was in late May, and that was late. It's late in the process for finding a superintendent. And I think that we do the community a disservice if we don't learn from what we've done in the past. This is not to, and I want to make sure I reiterate something, this is not to point fingers at anyone from the past, because we are a community and we learn together. The point of bringing this up is we should not necessarily, or we should take into consideration, right, do we want to travel down that road again? And I would say that we probably should learn lessons from our past. And I definitely want to reiterate that I think we're going to have a new board, and the new board needs to be able to get along with our new superintendent. But I also think that we need to realize that getting into this late in the game is also going to hinder us finding the best possible candidate we can bring in for our community, and that's what we should do. We should bring in the best person we can bring in for our community. And I think we need to realize those two things.
Can I get
That's all I got.
clarity on a couple things you said, Jared? Just
Jared, what search firm was that? I would like to know.
Ray and Associates.
Thank you.
And just clarity on something else you said, Jared. You said going down that road again. Just from a contextual knowledge, let me know which road, and then also because you have contextual knowledge, you're asking. You said it sounds as if you're saying we should consider additional options. What are those options?
So the road that we went down, right, was we felt, and by the way, I again want to reiterate, I am not pointing fingers at that board, because I believe the community felt the same way. So I don't think the board was acting in a way that was not reflective of the community. So I want to say I think the board at the time and the community felt that we needed to fill that position. And that's what that board did. They filled that position. They did what was asked of them, right? However, once that position was filled, there were definitely some things that alarmed the community once that position was filled. There were some things that perhaps made the community uncomfortable with what they were finding was coming out of Iowa at the time. And I think there were people in the community had some buyer's remorse. And I want to be careful where I go with some of this, but you know, I think the point of all of this is to say that, and the lesson to be learned is we need to make sure that we are doing our due diligence.
So Jared, and then I'm just going to speak to Dominic and what Jared, I think, are trying to say, and you correct me if I'm wrong. So normally, when you embark upon a search for a superintendent, that process for most districts who take the time to do it starts in like October, November, at the latest. So right now we are significantly behind in terms of the time frame in which we would pick a superintendent, because right now
For this year.
because right now districts have either already named their superintendent or are in the very last stages of naming and appointing a superintendent for next year. So here we are in the month of February wanting to embark upon a process which would mean, and if we are who we say we are, which is we want to make sure that our new board has the access and opportunity to be a part of that particular process, then we're looking at May, June. And in May and June, the candidate selection pool is very shallow. And so do we want to pick from a shallow pool of candidates? I think because now what you're saying, Jared, is you picked in May and you felt like maybe that pool was really shallow and you wanted a better process.
Jared didn't pick in May, I did.
Well,
And the pool wasn't shallow.
Thank you,
Well,
Ally.
I know.
First of all, Jared did not pick anything.
Sorry, okay, so I spoke to, personally, for myself, I needed to understand what the pool would look like, and I did speak to one of the search firms that was here, and I asked them that question, and they did not deny that at that time, your pool is going to be shallow, that they were validating what I was saying.
But they were also saying that the pool is shallow no matter what, because
Well, no,
nobody
they
wants to
say
be
no
an
matter
administrator.
what. They said it would be shallow at that time.
Incrementally.
I think not looking would be a mistake.
No, we're not even.
But none of them had a problem with our timeline and all presented timelines, because a lot of work needs to go in before a person is picked.
Exactly.
So I'm feeling a little questioned, like, why were they all ready to get started, ready to meet our timeline, and now you're having a one-off conversation saying that's not a good idea?
No, I'm
Well,
not
they-
saying,
they-
I'm not saying that
When
they're
two
not.
surrounding
Wait, Jennifer,
districts
wait a
hold
minute, Ms.
38 and
Johnson.
34.
Ms. Johnson, what I'm saying is that they are all ready to do what they presented that they would do. That is not the issue. And they will do a search for us because that's what we want. we were not interested or didn't want to move forward with the candidate pool that they had provided for us, what would that mean? And they said that they would re-embark upon a search process if that's what we wanted, because we have to wait until May in order to include the new board. And so hold on. What's missing is if we start a process now and we want to create a profile of what that board or what that candidate should look like, and the new board has not had an opportunity to weigh in on that very important tool, and then we interview candidates who that board did not have an opportunity to be a part of selecting. Now they can come and say, you know what, I don't like that process. I don't like these candidates. I want to start over. So we're just having a conversation about what's out here and what's available. But in fact, the pool is shallow come May and June if that's what you're picking from.
From my HR perspective and someone who has been in this exact position before on the HR side, number one, yes, that is a possibility. But we also have to remember that there are candidates out there that we don't know about, and there are situations that we are unaware of. So while I totally agree with Mr. Ploger, like we have to understand the mistakes we've made in the past and not make them again, I think there's a due diligence that needs to happen on the back end. We've spoken with each of the firms about that the background checks have to be incredibly deep and thorough. But to say that I guess I'm very confused, because we've been going down this path and all of a sudden someone's pulling the brakes. And so why we don't get out there, and we always have the opportunity to say to the community, you know, we're not finding what we need, but we still have all the upfront work to do to build the leadership profile, to meet with constituents in the community. All of that stuff takes time. And we have Dr. Sparlin until the end of June. So when there is an opportunity I guess we're still, yes, I agree, we need to have a plan B, but like we haven't even gotten into the practice yet and we're already pulling the brakes on it.
Yeah, I don't consider it, you know what, I'm just asking, like, Jared, when you say we don't want to go down the road, are you saying that you feel like what road? Did he answer that? Because I'm not sure I'm understanding. What do we not want to do? Are you saying we
To
don't
rush
want
the process.
Rush? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, and then we've also heard that, you know, it could take up to a year to finish this process and do it right. So, but go ahead. Go ahead, Jared.
What I'm saying is I don't think we want to be in a position where we feel we have to hire somebody. So I think we need to make sure that we are making it clear that we want the best candidate. And if they're not finding a candidate that we are comfortable with, then yes, I am 100% comfortable with going with an alternative to just hiring somebody, because we feel we have to hire someone by a date.
I don't think that was the feeling of the board at that time when we hired Dr. Wine. We hired him for a reason.
I think, because I think we all agree that we are going to share what our thoughts are on who the search firm, using the rubric that we selected, and I definitely believe that we should go forward, not putting on any brakes regarding that. But if we also need to understand that, I don't know, I'm just wondering about waiting until, what if we get to May and we haven't found our person?
I thought the point was to bring the people who were running for the board in on one of those meetings, and that would have been before May.
Well, we can definitely have like
focus group.
several of the firms talk about having a focus group specifically for the 8 or 9 candidates, which I think we all believe that that's a really good thing to do.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be in like a closed session situation because it's
Right.
not a closed session agenda item, but definitely having a focus group specifically for them. And most boards who go through this process, it takes about 5 or 6 months, and they start, like I said, in like October, November. We just don't we don't have that right now, but it's not to say that we're going to rush the process if we don't find our person.
Well, for the record, I think it would be an inaccurate description, irregardless of your feelings of that superintendent, to say that we felt rushed about that.
You're talking about what?
I'm talking about, when I was on the board at the time, so when we hired Dr. Wendt, we did not feel rushed. We did not feel like we had a low pool of candidates.
And that's good.
I think,
I feel like
yeah.
I feel like we're just making a lot of assumptions.
Right, I don't have a
and
crystal
I
ball.
think we should move forward, and then we will address those respectfully and appropriately and hopefully diligently as we come upon them. But I think everyone, and I appreciate, Mrs. Simulton, you bringing up that, especially for the community, that if we don't find what we want, we're not going to just hire someone to hire them. We will come up with another alternative, and we'll do that when the new board is seated. So I hope that we can get the ball rolling so we can start to just see what the community wants and hear from the community.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but we also got to contemplate or investigate what the downfalls would be of not looking at filling the seat in an interim level with the prospects of letting the new board really dig in and choose their superintendent.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I came in here ready to give that speech tonight anyways, and I'm definitely trying to be diplomatic because we can haggle about the past all we want, but the truth of the matter is the community has already pretty much had their say on that hire, and whatever we want to say about it, the community was not happy with that hire. And so going down and doing the same thing all over again is not going to be well received from many in the community if we just rehash and do the same thing that we did last time. That's not going to be well received.
Dominic, I don't know. Can you say what you said? Because I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how those two things go.
Well, I'm just saying, if we were to, we could start the search, and I agreed with Jen. We can start getting community feedback. We can start looking at the different aspects that go along with, what we need for a superintendent. But if we were to go through that process with a relatively, and the search firm isn't the only one that's saying that. Other districts are saying that. I believe the Illinois State Board of Education, not the ISB, but IASB, is also kind of conceded that the pool that's going to be available now is not necessarily going to be the top tier candidates. So there's a good chance that we might not find the greatest candidate. I know that you might have had it. Yeah, you might have had. I'm talking.
I think we're making a lot of assumptions, and nobody has a crystal ball. And if you don't try, you're never gonna know. I mean, what do we tell our kids?
Well,
all
I
the
just.
time?
Well, I don't know if.
Right.
Yeah, but this is a big decision. I mean, this isn't just. This
100%, but how are
is
you
something
gonna know
that
if
we
you don't
can
put it
let
out
the new board, whoever it would be, completely select their superintendent from A to Z, and then with an interim in place, they have plenty of time to make that happen and be appropriate. We mitigate that risk. We mitigate the risk of not having the best candidate pool.
I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
You're saying if you go long term now, we give ourselves the opportunity for like a 12-month process if we need it. Is that what you're saying? Like
we give the new board the opportunity to pick their superintendent.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then none of us should make any decisions on this.
Well, we can make.
But there's a lot of work that needs to be done before that.
Yeah, that's what I agree with you on that, Jen, for sure.
Can work in parallel.
I agree, we have to make the decision about the search firm because we need all of this time. I totally agree, but
But
go
I think
ahead.
I see both sides because I think that, I mean, honestly, I can say that we don't know what the search firm is going to find. We can think about this from a traditional standpoint of, because I agree, when you think about the candidates who would be the top choice, they're likely, if they're available and they're not under contract, they're likely already selecting the district or the place that they're going to work right now. So I do understand that those individuals will not be available. But I also don't think that may preclude or exclude other candidates that could be out there that may be the right fit for the district. That's one side. So I fully understand and consider that. Now, if that happens, then we have to consider a plan B because we're not just going to select a candidate simply because they're available. And then if now we're at June, Dr. Sparlin's contract is up, and now we have to have an interim. But the thing that I think about from the interim perspective is that there's decisions that have to be made right now. And of course, Dr. Sparlin is here, the team is here, so we have to consider if we don't find a candidate by the end of June or June, then are there decisions and implications starting today that will be further exacerbated in June? And do we have to make decisions, or we are making decisions now, and what are the decisions that we have to make? And I'm being very vulnerable to say, because I don't have all of the contextual knowledge, that's why I'm asking deeper questions of Mr. Ploger, of Ms. Johnson, and everybody sitting here so that I can make sure that I can contribute to the decision of, yes, we said go full steam ahead with the search firms, and I believe that we should continue to do that no matter what, because whether it takes us, I mean, I think 4 months on this hire is pretty aggressive, but all of the firms said that they could do it. So if they're following that trajectory and we get the results we think we can get, great. But if we don't, now I hear us saying, let's just make sure we have a good plan B and a plan C so that we can get the right candidate.
But the one thing that all the search firms didn't consider is the fact that we want to include our new board in the process.
Agreed.
So if we want to do that, then we can start some things, but then there are other things that we won't be able to start, like actually interviewing the people and all of that. And that's gonna have to take place after
May.
When is the election certified? What date is that?
They're not seated until May, though.
Okay, so
Like the first meeting in May.
all right, so now we're still back to that May, June
Yeah.
thing. But one thing that I thought of when Dominic was talking was, there's just so much change going on. A new board, a new superintendent, all at the same time. Why are we putting ourselves, I'm just thinking about this for the first time. Why are we putting ourselves in that place? I don't know, I mean.
Well, I haven't seen the status quo really work, to be honest. I would like to see, sometimes change is good, and I guess I'm really struggling with, and maybe it's because I'm not there and I'm not looking at each of you, but I'm really struggling with all the questions right now. Like, we've spoken about all of this and had a trajectory forward. And once that leadership profile, which I do believe every firm said they would do, I think that leadership profile is going to be what elevates and really shows the board when they're seated, or whether it's us, exactly what we're looking for. And once that leadership profile is created, I think that really is where we start to have some of these questions answered in a better way. Like,
There-
is that person available? Is that person not available? But until we get all the constituents to give their input, we don't even know. We're making a lot of assumptions to say this person is or is not available. And I think we need to see what that looks like.
I think the alternative, has a lot of assumptions embedded as well. So, go ahead, Jared.
Listen, I keep hearing the word assumption, and
Yeah.
that's fine. I get it. But I am going to say this. This is not an assumption. If we do the same thing that we did in 2013, there are people in the community that will notice, and they will not be happy that we did the exact same thing that we did in 2013. That's not an assumption, just so we're clear. Now, we can debate whether it's the majority. We can debate whether it's, what the size of that is. It's a good chunk of the community. It's a good chunk of the community that pays attention. That's not an assumption.
I'm not talking about that as an assumption. I'm saying that people aren't available.
I got it. And you're not the only person that said the word assumption. I just want to make that clear that I'm not the only person that noticed that, and there were people in the community that were not happy with that hire, not necessarily at the time, but in retrospect. And so that's not an assumption that our community isn't going to notice, and that there are people who are not going to say, why are we doing the same thing? I agree with Jen about status quo. We need to make sure that we don't do the status quo that we did last time.
So, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna stop talking. When we came into this room the first time to vote on whether or not when we talked about how we were gonna go forth in this process, we all came in here with a certain set of facts or knowledge or understanding. And now we are here, maybe a month later, if not more. We know more, we've thought about it more. There's a whole bunch of other things that are factors that, we've gathered from, whether they were meetings with Faith and Dr. Sparlin, or whether they were superintendent updates that we get every Friday, or whether they were, the search firms that we've talked to, or, whether the 10 board presidents that I'm in contact with all the time, and just understanding, and I have a lot more information now, and I don't know if I would have made the same decision that I made then I'm making now, but I do feel like we have to get started, and I think that from those 3 search firms that we can make a decision, but I'm just not, maybe we just all need to get in a room together the next time we have a board meeting and maybe talk about this a little more. But I think at this point, if you guys don't have, if you want to talk a little more about the rubric and your rankings for each of the search firms, or if you guys just want to talk about your number 1 ranking, the firm that you chose in first position.
Well, if that's where we're transitioning, I think did everybody provide their rankings?
Yeah.
Even everybody that's on the phone?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I don't know if we're going to change anybody's mind, so do we even have a discussion on that, or?
Okay, you want to start, Jen?
I just want to say that it's my understanding that there was a search firm based on rubric that is chosen. And so shouldn't we just say that this was a firm that, based on everyone's individual rubric, had the overall score?
Yeah, we can do
That's
that.
what-
I just didn't know if
Yeah.
anyone wanted to say anything specific about it, about them, about the firm that they chose. Did you want to say anything specific as to why you thought they were good or anything?
No, not me. I'm the one that had a little bit of concern with the first one because,
You threw that one out.
yeah, it was.
You talked about me bad.
Well, I felt that somebody could really outweigh their vote. But I wanted to make sure everybody said number 1 was the first choice, number 2 was the second choice, number 3 was the third choice. So therefore, the lowest score would be everybody.
We did, we all used the.
I'm looking to my left, and there's nobody there. Lori and Jared aren't here. I mean, you guys don't vote on that stuff. That's why.
We all used the same one that we gave you.
I just want to make sure that we didn't assign 3 points to our first one.
Nope.
So the lowest point wins. Okay.
So, would you like to announce the name of the firm that was selected in terms of,
Everybody chose number one.
everybody chose number one?
SS School Exec Connect.
School Exec Connect. So we had, this is the first time we've ever had.
I did not consult with.
It might
Okay.
be. Yeah.
Okay.
And listen, I feel like, because I know we're going to have this conversation later, but I also feel like it's important to note, because Jared keeps bringing up that last superintendent, but there was a reason that we brought in who we brought in. And I think that those reasons in 2013 are much different than they are in 2023. And I think that the district's in a much better place. And I think that we're kind of, you know what I mean? Like, there was some things that were happening that needed fixed, quite frankly. And, whether the community appreciated him or not, things got fixed, right? And then at the time he left, we got Dr. Wen, and you know what? Things got fixed and things mellowed, and he got us through a lot of things. So I'm kind of struggling with the fact that we're not going to pick because of one superintendent.
Oh, that's not my.
Oh, I just want to.
Yeah, I don't even think I gave that or that.
Well, I think
reasoning,
we're in
yeah.
a much different place than we were back then.
I totally agree, Ally, and I think honestly the pandemic reset the future of education for everybody. So while I do agree with Jared, we have to make sure that we don't forget what happened in the past and we use it to inform future decisions. I think everyone on this board that I've spoken to, and I've spoken to each and every one of you, in both in public and in private, we all want to include as many constituents as possible. We want to include candidates. Each of the 3 firms assured us that we can include those 8 candidates in conversations with the finalists or finalists, or I don't remember how it works. But I think everybody going forward understands transparency is important and being very clear with our community where we're at, and not just our community, but our 2,300 employees, that rely on us to make a good decision for them with regard to who the leader of the district is. But I also think that, like you said, it was, how many years ago, plus the fact that the pandemic has reset it for everything. We just find ourselves in a completely different environment than ever before. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I can't not say something to that. Just so we're clear, when decisions are made one year, you do not find it doesn't mean like the following year is when you see things happen, or the year after that, or the year after that. And so the residual things that we are seeing are 100% because of that decision. So no, things were not fixed. That's absolutely not the narrative we should be telling the community at all. And so for those of us who had to sit under the bright lights and talk to our community about cuts, that wasn't Dr. Sparlin. I want to make sure that we are making this clear, that that's not because of Dr. Sparlin. That was because of his predecessor. And so, I think we're sending the wrong message here. And so we absolutely need to make sure we're paying attention to the things that happened in our past. I agree, it's definitely a different place. I definitely think that, thank goodness, we have tremendous staff that hold things together and do a tremendous job in this district. But I cannot listen to that and not say something different because we continue to see the residual effects of that, and there are a number of people in the community that absolutely share that same thought.
Okay, and before we vote, I just wanted to let everyone know that our board members will be vetting the references that this search firm has given us. And so our vote is going to be contingent upon getting those back. So if you guys could have those back to us by Friday, send any of your information to Ursula. You have the questions that you should ask the references, and we would just need that completed by Friday. But our vote will be contingent upon those references coming back clean. So, if there's no more conversation, can I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to approve School Exec Connect as our superintendent search firm contingent upon the reference checks.
Oh, second.
Ms. Swanson,
Aye.
Ms. Simulton,
Aye.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Ploger.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Action item 9.3, approval of personnel report. Can I have a motion, please?
Yes, you may. I would like to make a motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
Second.
Ms. Simulton,
Aye.
Mr. Ploger,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Saron,
Aye.
Ms. Swanson.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. 10.1, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion at 8:48 to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?